All right, welcome to the Flagrant 2 podcast, our inaugural episode. I am your host, Kyle Flieger, writer for valleyofthesuns.com and avid Suns fan for my entire life here in the Valley, all 31 years of it. I am joined by two other team members from Valley of the Suns for this pod, Noah Strackbine and Cody Fincher. This is the Tuesday edition of the podcast. We'll be with you Tuesdays and Thursdays. Thursdays is general NBA. Today, Tuesdays, my favorite day personally, Suns Day. So we're going to be going through the different things the Suns have been dealing with during summer, free agency, some potential blockbuster trades, and summer league. First and foremost, let me introduce my cohorts here. Noah, why don't you go ahead and tell the people who you are and where you're from.
How's it going, everybody? Kyle, first off, thank you for having me on the show. I love to be a co-host, and I love to, talk Suns, talk some basketball as always. I am the co-editor at valleyofthesuns.com, a lifelong Suns fan, and, just looking to talk some basketball as always.
Excellent. Yeah, we're happy to have you here. And usually we might be just using two people to do the pod, but it's fun to have all three of us. Cody, why don't you introduce yourself to the fans?
What's going on, everybody? My name's Cody. I am born and raised here like Kyle, but I'm not. I'm just 24 years old instead of 31. But yeah, lifelong Suns fan, like Noah said as well. I've been writing for Valley of the Suns for a few weeks now, so and looking forward to being a part of this podcast for the foreseeable future.
Yeah, well, let's just jump right into it. I know we want to talk a lot about some of the different statistics coming out of Summer League and Summer League in general, so we'll just jump right in there. The Suns obviously made it to the semifinals of the Summer League tournament. They ended up going 4-2 with their record during Summer League. I think everyone was pretty excited in Suns Nation in terms of what we saw from some of the rookies. And before we get into those rookies, though, let's talk about Devin Booker, who just came into Summer League, 19, one of the only players on the Suns team who had been in the NBA the previous year and just looked a head and shoulders above the rest. He was 6 for 10 from three, averaged 26 points and 6.3 assists per game, ended up in the top three in both those categories during the summer despite only playing 2 games. Just exciting in Suns Nation when you see what we've got in Devin Booker out here. Noah, why don't you talk about what you saw from Booker in the limited time he played in the summer?
I couldn't agree with you more. He's an upcoming star, and we all see it. And as much as there's areas of his game that still need to be worked on, it's exciting to see at 19 years old a player who wasn't included in the top 10 in his draft. He was more of a lesser half of the lottery picks, and he's really shined since then. And he's done everything he needs to do. Summer League just solidified it a little bit more. He took control of that team, and he came into it and said, this is going to be my Summer League team. This is the guys I'm going to grow with in Phoenix. And he proved to everyone that he's here to lead this Phoenix team. And that was just the beginning of it. And I was, like you said, it's exciting to see.
Yeah. And Cody, maybe on that leadership front, it seemed like something he was really focused on was showing off that he can be a leader on the court. What'd you see from him in terms of his leadership?
Yeah, I agree with that. First of all, Devin Booker just, he showed his leadership by even just showing up to the Summer League because, technically he didn't necessarily need to be there. He played a good portion of the NBA season as the starting shooting guard for the Suns. And, he didn't need to be there, but he chose to be there anyway. And that shows his leadership capabilities, even at the young age of 19. And then after that, even when he wasn't playing in the games, he was on the sidelines cheering on his teammates and trying to help them and coach them. And he was being a very, very good teammate. A lot of the guys, when, if they don't play, they might not stay engaged, but Devin Booker definitely stayed engaged to the game and to what his teammates were doing. And, I think just the biggest component is that, he showed up knowing that he, even though he had a somewhat breakout year last year in his rookie season, that he still needs to work on his game and he still needs to improve. But he knows, like Noah said, that this is his team for the foreseeable future, and he needs to be the one that shows the leadership. And I think he did a very good job of that in the summer league.
Yeah, and him being there is a great point. Of the 5 people named to the All-NBA rookie team last year, he was the only one in summer league. So I think it does show that he has a passion to be on the court. You love seeing that in a young player. To your point, being 19, he's still one of the youngest people in summer league and seemed to be far and away better. Kevin Pelton from ESPN pointed out that, he was somebody who not only was scoring, but he handed out 13 assists in 67 minutes of action. One concern, though, is that he didn't have a single steal. So his defense is still a question mark. I think with Devin Booker, we're very right to be excited. I mean, I think Suns fans all are excited. I've seen people post on the website that they wouldn't trade Devin Booker for Russell Westbrook, even if they knew Russell Westbrook was going to sign an extension with the Suns. So that's how fervorish fandom here is for Devin Booker, and that might be a little outrageous, but we'll get into some of those possible trades later on. But the defense is definitely a question mark, and he's going to have to show us something. He's going to have to show, well, not us, he's going to have to show the league that he can be someone who defends at least a decent level, because the comparison we always get with Booker is Klay Thompson. And I'm not sure that's just because they look similar and that they're lighter skinned and 6'6", but they both guys can flat out shoot the ball. The major difference in their game is that Klay Thompson's an elite level defender and Devin Booker isn't. And Devin Booker has to get better on that side of the floor if he plans on being a superstar in the NBA and wants to be one of those top 10, top 20 guys, which I think is the ceiling a lot of Suns fans see as a possibility for him. Now, while Booker only played in 2 games, somebody who played in all the games was Tyler Ulis, his best friend, Booker's former teammate and roommate at Kentucky. They showed off obvious chemistry when they were on the court together. They seemed like they had been playing together for years, which they have. So, it seemed like they had an obvious connection. But Ulis really was a standout. Tyler Ulis was named to the All-NBA Summer League team, the first team with the other son, Alan Williams, the center for us during the Summer League. And, Ulis had been one of the best people in the Summer League. He averaged, over 15 points per game. He had a 3.45 assist to turnover ratio, per Kevin Pelton. So he just really showed off that he can control the ball and an offense. What else did you see from him, Tyler? What else did you see from Tyler, Noah?
Well, first, touching up on the Booker defense that you were talking about, connecting it with Ulis, I'm more than excited that the Suns were able to draft him, especially in the second round. I mean, that was, in my opinion, the steal of the draft, possibly besides Don Maker, who the Bucks somehow saw as a top 10 draft pick and turned out so far to be right. But besides that, I mean, Ulis, he showed that he was the best defensive player in the summer league. He didn't lead the summer league in steals, but he was second. And if you watched him, he looked way more confident than anyone else on the court. And more than just his buzzer beater 3 to win the game in the first round of the tournament proved that. You watched him match up against anybody on the court, and I get that it's summer league, but as a first-year rookie, it's still impressive. And when it comes to Booker, like you said, they're best friends. They'll work together every day. They'll have more chemistry on this Suns team than anybody else out there. And because of that, I really think that he's going to benefit from Ulis being on the team, because Ulis will, help him develop that defensive game while Booker helps him develop, his long range shot, his scoring ability, which excites me. But just looking at Ulis in the summer league, like you said, he was a man amongst boys. He was killing it. He was out there every game, and he led this team. I get that his last game wasn't the greatest, but he still averaged just about 15 points a game and almost 3 steals. That's what stood out to everybody, is 3 steals. He walked out there. He played defense. He didn't turn the ball over. He was an all-around team leader. And while Booker was developing his leadership skills, Ulis came out there guns a-blazing and just said, I'll prove my spot, earn some minutes. I get that there's a lot of point guards on this team, but I believe I'm with one of them, or I'm with some of them. And he did. He came out and he proved everything.
Well, and that's the major concern, right, is the question of minutes, because Ulis did get sort of eaten alive by Tyus Jones, who I also think is a talented rookie, drafted number 24 last year by Minnesota. There were times where Ulis couldn't stay in front of Jones, that Jones was just using his size, and Jones isn't a particularly big point guard. Cody, realistically speaking, the Suns have Brandon Knight. They're paying, over $10 million a year to play backup point guard and share some time at the 2 with Devin Booker. They've got Leandro Barbosa that they just signed in free agency that we're going to talk about a little bit later. I mean, realistically speaking, how is Ulis going to break into the minutes rotation?
Well, it's going to be difficult if the roster stays the way that it is, but I'm kind of expecting a trade that sends Brandon Knight somewhere to happen in the near future, but I'm not sure if that's going to happen, but that's just my guess. But especially, you mentioned it with the Suns signing Barbosa, it's going to be tough for Ulis to break in there. I think he's just going to have to show out and prove that he deserves to be the backup point guard, or maybe just the third point guard. I don't know how they're going to do it. Honestly, they could have Ulis back up Bledsoe and then Knight stays in or Booker comes in. I'm not sure how they're going to do it. I really don't know. It's going to be difficult with the roster they have right now because there's just so many point guards, and I think that a trade of Brandon Knight is coming. I just don't know when.
Okay, well, I think that that's not an unpopular sentiment. I know that if it were up to Suns fans, Brandon Knight would be out the door. We'll get into a little bit about what those trades might look like, because obviously for every trade there's a price, and we know that Ryan McDonough, the Suns GM, is not one to sell short on a player, that he would rather rehabilitate that player's image or just let that player stew on the bench like he did with Markieff Morris in order to try to generate first-round draft picks coming the other way. So we'll see about that. The other bright spot, of Summer League, despite their limited time, was Dragan Bender and Marquise Chris. I think as far as Ulis is concerned, he's going to struggle to get minutes because of the depth at point guard. But where Suns fans know that there's a giant hole is at the power forward position. And Marquise Chris played limited time because, as Paul Corral reported, he was sick. He had the flu. He went back to Sacramento. Nothing major, it sounds like, but he is on antibiotics, hoping to get better, and then he'll be over here with the Suns in training camp in Phoenix. Dragan Bender played a couple of extra games, didn't play in the semifinal because he did sprain his ankle in the final game of the regular Summer League, and both of those guys showed a lot. I mean, Suns fans are high on Dragan Bender, and I have to say I'm one of them. We'll get into the statistics. I mean, Bender only made 26%, 27% of his three-pointers, but he did that because he was spending a lot of his time on the perimeter. He played small forward and started at small forward in 2 different games. He was taking his man off the dribble. He showed that he can get his shot up. He still needs to be more decisive when it comes to pulling up from distance or driving the lane. You see him hesitate at times, but Bender at 7'1" showed that there's a lot to his game. He can move so fluidly. And my favorite part of the Summer League was watching Dragan Bender grab defensive rebounds and just take off up the court by himself with the ball. That's something exciting to see coming out of a 7'1" power forward, small forward, potentially center someday if he adds weight. Cody, what'd you like that you saw out of Bender?
I really like his athleticism. Like you said, he pulled down those rebounds and then just started running up the court because he is actually able to do that at 7'1". I think he, like you said, he does need to work on his decisiveness when he gets the ball, whether to shoot it or put it on the floor. Because yeah, you said he sometimes showed hesitation and that kind of bit him in the butt. And I noticed he got a lot of balls knocked away from him by defenders, and that can't really happen when you're 7'1". You got to hold that ball up high. But yeah, I really liked his athleticism. He seems like he can do whatever he wants on the court when he decides to do it. He can drive the lane. He can shoot the three, obviously. I just think, yeah, like you said, he needs to be more consistent with that. And yeah, he needs to add some weight so he can be a more dominant force down low with rebounding and also scoring. But yeah, I think there's so much potential with Dragan Bender. And a good thing, even though he's only 18 years old, he's been a professional in Europe for a while, so he knows what it means to be a professional athlete. It's just putting it all together in the NBA that's going to be kind of difficult for him because the NBA is a different animal. But I think he has great potential. I think we saw flashes of it in the summer league.
Yeah, and he got pushed around, and no, I know you noticed this. He only had 5 assists compared to 19 turnovers. Can you talk about how his size sort of played as a disadvantage in the summer league?
Yeah. I mean, you guys, obviously, I like the pick with Dragan Bender at 4 from the Suns, but I'm not as high on him as you two and most other Suns fans are. I mean, maybe that's just me. I like my 7-footers. I like the big man game. I was a big Shaq fan, forever. And I expect those players to be physical and be big. And, obviously Bender running down the court and having all that ball control is something that I like to see. Everybody likes to see, but he looks fragile out there, and he looks like he can't push guys around. He's getting pushed around, which is going to hurt him. Obviously it hurt him. Like Cody said, he doesn't keep that ball up high, and because of that, he turns the ball over a lot. And when it comes to rebounds, he struggles. He struggles hard. Marquise Chris showed that he can rebound the ball. He's been working on it, and it's obviously paying off. Bender, on the other hand, proved that he's 7'1" and he can average more than 5 rebounds a game, which could hurt the Suns and him in the long run, because guys like Alex Len and Tyson Chandler can't be the only post rebounders that the team has. You can't look at guys like Allen Williams to perform like he did in the summer league during the regular season, because that's not going to happen. So you need these young guys to develop. And when it comes to Bender, if he doesn't start putting on weight and becoming more physical, it could hurt him in the long run, because he's 7'1". He could shoot and he could drive, and he's got good